Yes, yes, yes. The WNBA playoff semifinals are now set, and the top four seeds have advanced, and I am looking forward to them kicking off this weekend. We have the Aces versus the Wings, and we also have the Sun versus the Liberty. It is going to be so great, and we had to bring Terrika Foster-Brasby on today to talk with us about this because of her spectacular expertise in the WNBA and specifically the Connecticut Sun, who constantly make their way at a minimum to the semifinals. What is it, like eight times now?
Five straight.
Five straight. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm giving them more because it will be 8, but 5 straight.
You're manifesting it.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. And you've been covering this team for a while, Terrika. So, I mean, they're back there. To me, they're just such a standard bearer of consistency, right? And so what does it mean, though, for this team to get back there again? They lost a former MVP in Jonquel Jones, right? Who is balling for the Liberty. We'll get to them in a second. And, Courtney was with the Sky now. And so what does it mean for them to do this? We know Alyssa Thomas. We know she's incredible. We know that. We'll talk about her too. And we know that she's your MVP candidate. You've revealed that on here. So I don't think I'm revealing anything that people don't know. But I think there are some who did not think Connecticut would be as good as it was still this year. And Alyssa Thomas and Tawana Bonner, they got it done. They have an incredible staff. They had a potential 6th person of the year candidate, player of the year, who I know didn't actually get it, but you thought could have. And so talk to us about covering the Sun and what it means for them to be here.
Yeah, this team is the definition of next man up, right? It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter who's on the squad. They have the experience from a standpoint of, having to deal with a major player and a major piece missing. They have the experience of having done that over the last 3 seasons. In 2020, they didn't have Jonquel Jones. In 2021, they didn't have Alyssa Thomas for majority of the season. Then last year, they didn't have Jasmine Thomas for majority of the season. And then this year, unfortunately, they lost Brianna Jones before the season even really began. So they were already climbing an uphill battle, but it was a battle that they had experience in dealing with. And then, bringing in a new head coach is Stephanie White, who eventually went on to win Coach of the Year. She was able to implement her style of basketball, which coincidentally played well into Alyssa Thomas's style of basketball. So this really is a completely different team. When you think of it in that way, the offense that they run is different. The roster looks different. Tiffany Hayes is there now. Rebecca Allen is there now. Dejanay Carrington had a much larger role given the absence of Brianna Jones. And then the way that we're starting to see Olivia Nelson-Ododa become a more aggressive and physical player here in these last few weeks. And I can't, forget about Ty Harris, who's coming off the bench dropping 18. This is a team that believes that they can get it done. And so, yes, coming into this season, there weren't many people who thought that they would end up being a 3 seed. There weren't many people who even thought that they would end up being in the semifinals, but here we are.
Yeah. So they just, they're one of the teams, we finished the first round, but they were the only matchup that went 3 games, right? So I don't want to say shockingly, because I don't want to disrespect.
No, you don't want that.
I don't want to disrespect the Mystics, but they came in there and did what they had to do. Nafisa came in there and did what she had to do to get them back to a game 3. Now, it did end up being a blowout, and I expected the Sun to go in and win. But do you think at all that speaks to... Do you think it says anything about the team, I guess, is what I'm saying? Because they were, to me, I thought they were going to handle it in 2. They were the only series that ended up going 3. And now they're about to go up versus the Liberty, who they haven't beaten all season.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of history repeating itself, right? When you think about it, because this exact same scenario, and I mean the exact same scenario, happened a year ago. So take you back to 2022 when this Connecticut team was the higher seed going into the matchup against the Dallas Wings. Dallas Wings, as you know, this year is a 4 seed. They've improved, and we'll talk about them in a second. But they were the higher seed going up against the Dallas Wings. We all thought, hey, this should be a clear 2-0 sweep for Connecticut. And what did they ended up doing? They won the first game by 25. They lost the second game by 7 and forced a game 3 to win by 15. Come to 2023. They win the first game against Minnesota by 30. They lose the second game by 10, and they win the third game by 15. I don't know what it is about this team wanting to play with their backs against the wall, but for some reason, they like to make things a little bit harder than necessary. And one thing that I really admire about this team is that Connecticut knows, like, they're not idiots. You know what I mean? Like, they're not a team that lives in a fantasy world. They know when they have dropped the ball, right? And so it was no secret in that locker room that they had an opportunity to close it out in 2, and they missed that opportunity. And veteran leader, DeWanna Bonner, she said that. She said, I pulled the team aside, I called the meeting, and I said, we missed it, we dropped the ball, we out here playing. Like, and these teams are not coming to play with us. Like, we need to play our brand of basketball, and we need to do it with a sense of urgency. And that's exactly what you saw in game 3 in Minnesota. So yes, all the credit to Minnesota for 14 in game 3. Napheesa Collier had an MVP-esque type season. She dropped 31 points in that last game. She really is an amazing player to me, to have just had a baby last year and to be able to come back this year and help an 0-6 team. That's how they started the season, for the Lynx to be able to make it to the first round of the postseason. So all credit to that team. Cheryl Reeve, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in women's basketball. So greatest coaches, one of the greatest coaches ever. So, I mean, I absolutely respect what Minnesota did, and they have a great future ahead of them. They were just too offensively stagnant at times. You never knew who was going to shoot when, like, it was too much inconsistency from an offensive standpoint. But Connecticut needs to handle business. And now, similar to 2022, they are going up against a team that they have not won against all season long. They were 0-4 against the Chicago Sky in 2022, and they ended up winning that series in 5 to advance to the WNBA finals. So I think they also use that as a way to say, hey, we've been here before, we've done this before. The regular season is out the window. It's a fresh slate. Playoff basketball is not the same as regular season basketball. And it's a very interesting storyline that they're going to play the Liberty because of Jonquel Jones, former teammate. Yeah. She's the anchor of this Connecticut team for years. And so now she's your opponent when it's really on the line. It's going to test the moxie of both these teams, I think.
I'm curious, do you think, and Kelsey, there's something I want you and Terrika to weigh on, but I'm just curious, Terrika, do you think it's going to be personal for Jonquel? Do you think JJ is going to have a little vengeance coming in?
No, I think the first time JJ walked into, I don't think I know because we asked her, the first time that she walked into Connecticut's building as a member of the Liberty, it was emotional. It was, I played so much here. I gave so much of my time here. And to be in this building again, but in an opposing jersey, it feels different, right? But I think those emotions are gone. Long gone. Like, JJ got love, but at the end of the day, she trying to win a chip too. So that all, I mean, friendships aside and the relationships that they have aside, these women are competitors. Yeah. And at the end of the day, she's trying to win a chip with her new team. And so she's going to come out trying to play. And JJ has been balling since especially All-Star break. It took her a little minute to get healthy, took her a little minute to get acclimated to this system of playing with her new teammates. But since the All-Star break, she's been going crazy, completely dominated on the boards in that game 2 against the Washington Mystics, 19 and 14, sis. Stop playing with JJ, right? And I know, and the crazy thing is when you think of this Liberty team, yes, you will see Sabrina, who, shot 7 threes in that first matchup. Yes, we all know about how amazing Breanna Stewart is, and it's why she's one of the MVP candidates. You're not going to sleep on Stewie, but y'all got to put some respect on JJ's name. She out here doing former MVP. She is not to be slept on, and she's going to bring it.
Yeah, I mean, she was so critical in that game, and I mean, Kelsey, you're down there. So I know you saw the comments that Natasha Cloud had to say before that game too, right? There was all the buzz around her saying that she was going to be guarding Sabrina basically the entire game, right? She's like all 40 minutes, and she's going to be on her, but also like she did. And listen, the Mystics, they didn't get they didn't get the win, but she had 33 points. That was a career high in points.
Career high, yeah.
Like she balled out. Everybody was, going off. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on it? Because Terrika, when you were on the show before, you said like, this could be like a trap. And I think that series as an opening round matchup, right, Kelsey? This is one of the ones that everyone was watching because we thought if there was going to be an upset, it could have been with that series. And it didn't end up happening. But I think something that a lot of people don't know about the WNBA series, and this is why it would have been so interesting if Washington could have gotten it back, because the first two games are played for the top team. So that's why it was like interesting with the Sun going back to Minnesota, right? The first two games, it's not like 1-1-1. It's 2 and then 1. So the home team, the better team,
it should be 1-1-1.
I like that better.
But the home team gets those first two games. So if you don't take care of it at home, then it gets really, really risky. And I mean, Washington should have gotten it back there. So what were your thoughts?
We were ready, Nat. Let me tell you, Washington fans were ready. People were ready to buy their tickets for that game. Big Sticks energy has been the theme here in DC. And, you talked about it. It was something personal, I think, in that game with Natasha Cloud because of that last regular game when they beat the Liberty, right? And waving the bye-bye to the crowd. People felt the way about that. And Natasha Cloud, one thing I love about her is that she does not back down from her comments. And what do we say? If you can talk that talk, you got to walk the walk. And you talked about it. She did in that game. She was able to hold Sabrina Ionescu defensively. What was 11 points? I mean, that was an incredible in itself. And Washington has really prided itself on its defense. And, you talk about Natasha Cloud. She had some comments today feeling like she was disregarded for her defensive efforts as a guard if you follow her on Twitter. So again, she's not backing down, but this game was worth every minute. I think all of us going into overtime, we're just anxious. Elena Deladon, I think, getting injured in this game, unfortunately, was like deja vu and just a bad memory for Mystics fans, because you think about a team that had to play a stretch without 3 starters this season and then seeing someone like her go down. But, Natasha kept that team believing, and I remember just, that turnover she had at the end, where it could have been the Mystics potentially winning that game. Brittany Sykes and what she's been able to continually do for this team. And then Natasha, just think about it, going into a year, incredible. And then going to a year where she's about to be a free agent, right? And think about money and all these different types of things. So there's so many underlying factors here. But I will tell you, I mean, this Mystics team, we're so proud of what was put forward and the effort. Very hard team to play against. Very hard team to play against. And the Mystics were probably not your typical 7 seed. Again, injuries kind of plaguing that season. But all in all, I mean, if that game had got back to DC, I think we were in for another good one, ladies, because that's how good this Mystics team balled out in front of a sellout crowd, right? Celebrities right there. LeBron James was tweeting about Tasha. He put Tasha all the exclamation points. I mean, she really had everyone rallying and rooting for her. She single-handedly, I think, kept this team, in that series. So all in all, and Breanna Stewart had to all of a sudden have a good game against the Mystics. She had been struggling against the Mystics in the regular season. So things started to hit at the right time for them.
What I think is interesting too, to be honest, what I think is interesting though, and you definitely hit on it, Kelsey, is your home court advantage obviously plays a role, I think, in most scenarios, right? And we talked about this on our show with LaChina and I, that the building and the energy around Barclays in game 2 was something that is what playoff basketball is about. And that is what WNBA playoff basketball is about. It makes it even more comical when you hear and see the trolls on social media that are like, oh, this is a sport and no one watches. Well, the numbers not only say that people are watching, but the audience and the engagement in that arena is the prime example that people are watching. Exactly. And when we see the semifinals shift this weekend, we are going to see the Michelob Ultra Arena where the Aces play is going to be packed out. The noise is going to be off the chain. I have been in that arena for a semifinals, and I have been in that arena for a WNBA finals. And those fans are loud. They are engaged. They pack the place. It is going to be the same in Barclays. I will be in Barclays on Tuesday for game 2. So I am looking forward to this environment, because that is, I mean, it is literally mind-blowing how people can still say that this league isn't being supported when you look around at all the celebrities and the stars and the folks that are coming out, NBA players, I mean, game recognized game. So you have so many people that are coming out to support these women in Brooklyn. And we'll see it again over the course of this weekend. We saw it in Dallas with Grant Williams and Dirk Nowitzki that was there watching the Wings play. You have often seen players like Jaylen Brown come to Connecticut to see the Sun play. So, I mean, home court advantage is a deal. And now
always be at the Liberty games with Sabrina doing a little celebration.
You're starting to see it. You're starting to see it, and you really just love to see
Carmelo, it. It's special.
Yeah. You both mentioned, so Kelsey, you brought up Natasha tweeting about defense. You brought up the aces. So there was an announcement. A'ja Wilson, my MVP pick, but we don't know about that yet. But she got that DPOY. She is again the defensive player of the year. I think that was to be expected. I don't know, because I know Terrika, you have been kind of revealing your votes as they come out. So are you okay letting us know whether or not you did vote for A'ja?
Yeah, absolutely. So I voted for Alyssa Thomas for Defensive Player of the Year. And A'ja is so deserving. So here's the thing. I haven't felt that any player that has won an award this year so far has not I don't argue it. I have not felt that there has been any announcement that has been egregious. So I can't believe no, I'm a voter. I take my vote seriously. I don't take this opportunity lightly. And I also feel like I have no reason to not be transparent about how I voted, simply because for what? One, it's sports. People are either going to agree with you or they're not going to agree with you. And 2, only one person can win. It's not a situation where 50 different people can win an award. Only one person can win. So somebody is going to be upset that they didn't win, right? So it's nothing that we can do about it. But as I've said before, I absolutely understand why A'ja won this award. She's so deserving of it. I voted for Alyssa simply because she led the league in rebounds. She was top 3 in scoring. When you think about the Connecticut Sun and how they have centered their whole style of defense, she's absolutely been the anchor of that defense, and she's 6'2". So for her to be able to do that, playing out of position and having coaches and players and teams literally have to prepare for how she's going to be on the defensive end of the ball. She's not going to, lead the league in blocks or anything like that. It's just she's undersized in that way, and she knows it. But I felt like her impact on the defensive end was so critical to Connecticut's success. But I ain't got no argument for A'ja.
No beef there.
There's nothing that nobody can say to me to convince me that A'ja should have won, because I agree. I get it. So it's just it just is what it is. Like I said, I'll reveal who I voted for, but at the end of the day, I'm not arguing or fighting with anybody who didn't vote the way that I did, because I get it. And I am not mad at it. So deserving. Yeah. Congratulations to A'ja.
Really quickly, Terrika, I wanted to ask you this. Sorry, just really quick. I know Alyssa's comment. This is her second year in a row, right? Coming up at second place, essentially, right? For Defensive Player of the Year, which obviously probably has to hurt when you were so close. But obviously, I think she's going to keep balling out because she's a Terp, Terrika, so she knows
how you are.
Keep balling out. But all in all to say, I think here in Washington, there was a big movement for Brittany Sykes. I just had to ask you quickly, what did you think about her year, leading the league in steals? And did you think that she deserved more votes than she garnered for that conversation?
So here's the thing that I feel about Slim, and my goodness, when I think about top defensive players in this league, I absolutely put her as one of them. I voted for her on my all-first team. The first defensive team came out. I think that Washington this year just kind of had so many ups and downs from an injury standpoint that you really have to be, and before I even get that far in the combo, I just want to say really quickly, to me, when it comes to defense, that is the one category where you cannot just depend on stats. You can't just look at a stat sheet and decide who is going to be a defensive team or who's going to win defensive player of the year. You got to watch these people play. You have to watch them play. And so anyone who's ever watched Brittany Sykes play, if you don't think she's a top defender in this league, I don't know what you're watching. I just think that there are other players like Alyssa and like Asia who may have just done a little bit more. That is the reason why they were considered top for these awards. I didn't vote for Benija. I'm sorry, I didn't vote Jordan Canada on my first team. I had her on my all second team. I had Benija Laney on my all first team. But I'm not mad that they're still on the top two. They're still the top 8 players in this league defensively. Like, so you're not gonna get an argument out of me about any of it. I think they are all deserving. They all earned it. It was just, as we've said about MVP this year, the level of play on all ends had increased and elevated to a level that it was so difficult to vote for awards this year. I think the easiest award that I didn't really have much trouble voting for was Rookie of the Year. It's Aaliyah. That's it. Yeah. Stamp it. Like, whatever. But every other award in every other category, I wrecked my brain because these women are so good. And it was just unfortunate that somebody was going to be left off or someone was going to be left out. But it really doesn't diminish how well these people play. So yeah, I saw Tasha's tweets. I ain't mad at her. Like, she is an elite defender. So I ain't mad at her for feeling some type of way. She should feel some type of way. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, talking about awards being hard, another one was the MIP race, right? Most improved. And so Satu Sabli, she won that award. I wanted to go to her sound, but I want to actually keep talking about these players. So I'll just sort of recap, what she was saying. But, she was obviously honored to receive the award. And she just talked about, sort of what it means and for her and just, everything, like her career growth. And so she has grown a lot. And one of the interesting sort of conversations around this conversation, she would have been my pick too. And Terrika, I saw your tweet where you said you were like back and forth between her and Jordan Canada, because those were sort of like the two candidates, right? I sort of always thought it was Satu. And I thought the framing of some of these arguments were interesting because it seemed to be that there was this argument around Satu that it was like, we always knew she could be this good, but injuries kept her back. So like that sort of was the reason why people, and not saying that Jordan didn't deserve it, but it was like, that's why we think it should be Jordan. Some people, I'm not saying all, but to me, it's just, if you're most improved, you're most improved. It doesn't matter to me, like, what the reason was you weren't performing or if we expected you to be this player. And to me, when you did the side-by-side comparison, while both were tremendous and important to their teams, I just don't see how you look at this. And it's not just the stats here, but between the stats, between what I watched, like, to me, it was a no-brainer. But I'm not a voter, and you said the decision was very hard for you.
It was very hard for me. So I am one who often battles with, is a player, there's a difference in a player. And this is just facts. There's a difference in a player who doesn't have stats, which is why I don't always have to look at stats, because stats can be deceiving, right? People say numbers never lie. No, they don't lie, but they could be manipulated in a way that will make you think one thing when it really isn't, right? So obviously, if a player plays in more games in 1 year than they play in the year before, statistically, things will improve, right? So yes, I had to ask myself, like, am I looking at this because Satu only played 11 games last year? She was injured last year. Is this an improvement because she's just now healthy, versus a player who in Jordan Canada started off the season on a training camp contract, wasn't guaranteed a spot, and literally became a focal piece to this team. This team, the LA Sparks suffered a lot of injuries this year. And they had some players who didn't even suffer an injury, but just had an illness. Prayers up to Lexi Brown. I got to show some love to Lexi. I cannot wait to see her back in the court and be healthy. But I'm just saying, like, they dealt with some unexpected things like other teams did, but they dealt with it. And Jordan Canada stepped up. She put in her mind that she wanted to be a better player, that she was going to put the naysayers to sleep, and she did that, right? But then I also looked again at Satou, and I was like, before her injuries in 2022, she was an all-star in 2021. So it was no, oh, we knew she was going to be good. She was already good. But that Satou wasn't this Satou. Satou out here dropping triple doubles, a 40-point game. Like, I still say that she's the difference in them being 1-3 against the Vegas Aces versus 2-2, because she missed part of a game, right? She didn't come back after halftime, and the first time that they met up, and they ended up winning that game by 5. So I say all that to say, I picked who I picked. I'm cool with who I picked. And if people got an issue that I picked them, deal with it.
Listen, Terrika, thank you for coming. I know we're all looking forward to these semifinals this weekend, so we will have you back so we can talk about it some more. We'll be back, guys.
Thanks, Terrika.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.